with that group of children there to educate, then we can teach them to teach. But if you don't have the will to really be there,
right,
it's not going to matter. And the kids are going to pick it up. They're going to feel it, and I think that's what happens.
Kids and everything they pick up on GSL.
But I think that's what happens. So many times, children know that you're happy here. You really don't want to be here.
Right.
Maybe you don't really like us. Maybe you like us. Community, our neighborhood. Fearful of coming sometimes in our neighborhood.
Exactly.
All of the children pick up, and they pick up it and easy. And I think that's factors. Those feel factors. Education is so important to be aware of those things. And I know in schools and others that really you talk about all these things. You talk about issues, the realities that you every day, the things they bring with school every day. And some of those are terrific.
They're very, a lot of kids come with a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
And you see it every day in their emotions, and it's pretty tough.
Unfortunately, a lot of teachers come with a lot of baggage.
Right.
That they brought from home too, that has nothing to do with kids or education. And so we used to call that, when I was doing it on a daily basis, adult messiisms. That encourage our adults to leave their business at home. You're not here for you, you're here for the kids. It's not about you, it's about them. It's adults in the building, it's about the kids in the building.
Right.
Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's where some of that negativity comes. And I think getting and growing out of that. And you said this to me when we spoke before, that knowing yourself and the role to play and accepting that role and living up, as you said, to that as a role model. Because no other way to do it. It's not a kind of thing.
No.
Well, we're going to small pause and break here in a second and continue this wonderful dialogue with Kiran Ali and her wonderful cohorts from Antwerp Elementary School who are going to second half hour, another teacher, a second grade teacher, and a fifth teacher, to look at what does it look like, experiential, the understanding of to be a teacher in a classroom in 2009 in Eustis. As we go looking at demographic shifts in Harris County, when we look at the reality of the schools being all schools again here in Eustis County, what are those realities of what it means to be in those institutions? What are we looking to produce the great results that we get? How do we hold and lift up children and make them feel the most important that they are on the face of this earth? Our lifeline, our creativity centers, our entrepreneurs, and everything going forward, because we get it right. We have to get it in our service to these young people. Please join us for the second part of Boston. We'll be right back. Good evening. Back to this week's segment of Dialogue. For the first part of the show, in conversation with our guest from Lanthrop High School, elementary school, at these issues facing school teachers and education, the urban public education that is so important to be laid in school, and why our foundation and the environment is so to get it right, because so many happen in those first few, and it has to be done right. It truly is the foundation for the of the young person's learning experience. Outcomes are really based on those early years on how they fell in love with education, out of love with education, and depending on that teacher who plays such an important role in that classroom. Kiran Ali was our guest, who was a first grade teacher. Has done some great things in her own with her program calling, that's what you heard about in the first part. She'll touch on again in the second part of us. And I'm joined with wonderful colleagues from the school, from Lanthrop, another first grade teacher, second grade, fifth grade teacher. So let me just introduce them. Go around. This is Kiran on my left. Welcome again.
Thank you.
We have Jim on next to Kiran, who's a family teacher. Benjamin Hernandez, a great teacher who gets from having all the classes and subjects in now on his own room on subject. Benjamin Hernandez. Last but not least, is wonderful, who was a second grade teacher. Yes. Welcome, everyone. Have you here? Well, you heard the that Karen and I were having in this half. Before I get into anything, for the second part here, give us some feedback of what you saw us talk about. How does that resonate with your experience in the school every day? What are some of the issues that we talk about that you face, that you challenge, that you every day, and how do you respond to them? As you into this environment, something new. You got awful children, you got these parents, you got teachers to deal with, you got stuff doing from home, those parents, and you got all that to kind of walk in every morning, smile on your face, and say, okay, we're here for another day. What?
I thought it was interesting. I did more as a fifth grade teacher. In fifth grade, not departmentalized, so I teach math as a science teacher and social studies teacher as well. When they room, there's no, I didn't say a word. On the board there's what I call a warm-up, and the students begin their warm-up immediately as soon as they sit. The quicker they sit down and get quiet, the more quickly they'll finish their warm-up. And there was a list of things, necessarily what we're doing in that week or that objective, but what we've covered in the past and what we're going to cover in the future. So a lot of times we introduce a new warm-up. But unlike first grade, my difficulty is in the students. You have to calm them down. I animate them, so I usually put on.
Teaching first grade at one time.
I taught
even more.
Right. In fifth grade, I have to animate, so I put Wagner on there.
Now, what I have to ask, obviously a throwback to the age time. I'm curious when you said you have to animate grade. I can remember fifth grade. We were too animated, And what happened?
Yes, I agree, but necessarily always in what I want them to be animated.
Right. Okay, now you're talking.
To animate them.
There you go. There you go.
Focus them.
Yeah. Okay.
That kind of plays into in a little bit, a different of a way. Like in second, they still have all that, still have energy, but you have to maintain that energy with routine. What's so great about Kiran's program is it gives them the same thing every day, and your whole day too.
Right.
In the morning, but as you also have to get that routine throughout.
Exactly.
And then the day, throughout the week, and you really see that success with students. Expectation.
Because in fourth, you still have the same students all subject, right?
Right, you're with
them all day. So it really becomes established in that classroom. Of disciplining, structure, order, has to carry you for along.
Yeah, and then once you have that, start to realize routines that you're going to get into, that you have in your classroom, and then their role also plays a role.
That's very important. Talk a bit about that. How do you and have parents clearly and informed on how important that role play in this environment? How do we do that? How do we get them fully engaged?
Kiran hit exactly in the first part of consistent communication. Whether it's a newsletter that goes consistent phone call, meeting with them, every quarter when grades come in. That first grade has a really great parental handbook that they in the beginning of the year also set the tone for the
parents still invited to come sit in the classroom?
Absolutely.
So we still can come. They can still do as much as they want? Because my mother was there almost every day.